to help.
Hey guys, Savage Joy here with Real Progressives. Tonight I am welcoming back the Green gubernatorial candidate, Mr. Paul Glover. Thank you so much for coming back to join us, Paul.
Thank
You
you,
are
Jay.
absolutely, you are quite the character, and everybody knows you as such. So you are the Green running in our state in Pennsylvania for governor. Gubernatorial means governor. It's just a really, really weird word. Um, but, but what made you decide to run against, this Tom Wolf who's been there, quite some time? And what made you decide to get in the race?
Well, I was invited by the Green Party, which had in fact nominated me apparently at their convention. And I agreed because it was be an opportunity to raise issues that were not going to be raised otherwise by either the Republican or the Democratic candidates, or even perhaps by the Libertarian candidates. So we had sued the state of Pennsylvania 4 years earlier and won in federal court. And this made it far easier to get on the ballot. So I thought, well, this is an opportunity now, and perhaps as a ballot candidate would get more media attention. That did not turn out to be the case. So it is social media and outlier media which have paid attention to this candidacy. I feel that being liberal is not enough because of climate change and mass incarceration and hunger and poverty and quite a number of other things. Radical changes, sharp directions need to be embraced, and in a way which is practical. And this has been my background. And so this particularly grabbed my interest and my enthusiasm to introduce these practical programs which would dynamically redirect our civilization, our cities, our suburbs, and our farms in directions which brought us more in balance with nature, more in balance with one another.
Absolutely. It's interesting. I've lived in Pennsylvania my whole life. I've voted in Pennsylvania for over 20 years, but now I'm so involved that I notice these things that I didn't before. It really pisses me off because on the PA ballot, and I know that a couple other states do this as well, but you got to vote for the governor and lieutenant governor. They're like a package deal. So you can't vote for one party and another party. You have to just group them. Am I explaining that well?
Well, that's completely the case. I think that's the case in most states. I'm not sure about that. I think that's the case. And I'm very pleased and proud that Jacqueline Bowser Bostick of Delaware County is the candidate for lieutenant governor on our ticket.
Right. I have heard about her. Yeah, it's kind of frustrating, but I've never voted Green before, but I will be for you. So that's exciting. So you'll have at least one vote in Camp Hill.
Amen. That's wonderful to hear.
And don't interpret that I voted for Hillary. I wrote Bernie in. So just so we clarify that.
So if we Greens get 2% of the vote statewide, or whichever candidate got the most statewide ballots, then we retain our party line. And that enables us as a party to determine who is our candidate in the next elections.
Right.
And in Philadelphia, for example, in 2019, there are 2 seats on city council available specifically for the so-called non-majority party. And instead of that going by default to Republicans, We would like to see 2 Green Party candidates on the ballot and on council to move Philadelphia's very stuck in the mud Democratic council, overwhelmingly Democratic council, into a greener direction.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have do you know PK Diddy?
Oh,
She's
yeah,
here.
I've met her. She's wonderful.
Yeah, she said she's voting for you. So
That's the highest recommendation.
I mean, here's the thing. You take PK. She is the most incredible activist. She's a humanitarian. She is like, when you think green, she epitomizes it. So you think, would she vote for Wolf? No. Stick to what you believe in, which, we're talking a lot about things in the environment constantly, climate change, things like that. So why would we vote for someone who takes, who doesn't care about pipelines, who ignores our pleas for, brown water? We went and we sat in Governor Wolf's at his office inside the big Capitol building, and we sat there. We had speakers. We sat there for like over 2 hours. Of course, he made no appearance, but he doesn't even address the concerns. So if you're offended by people being treated that way, then don't give them credence and vote to keep them in. It doesn't make any sense. But the third party is a boogeyman, to so many people. So as you campaign and you talk to those when you door knock or call or anything, what is the response when they find out you are a third party candidate?
Well, clearly, a lot of people who vote Democratic are horrified and repelled that any Green would, because of course they are confined within a box, which is Democrat or Republican. And that has gone on for so many decades that that box has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller, so that Governor Wolf can step forward and be the candidate of fracking, candidate of the Mariner Pipeline, the candidate of the fossil fuel industry, candidate of agribusiness, the candidate of so many things which Democrats historically have been against, that he can get away with it. And but it is easier right now because Governor Wolf is 26% ahead in the polls above Wagner. And therefore, Governor Wolf doesn't need the votes of people who believe that fracking poisons the future. And Governor Wolf has himself, during his tenure so far, expedited 5,000 fracking permits of the 11,000 fracking permits issued so far. And Democrats like that need to be kicked to the curb. I tell people, Republicans will kick you off the cliff. Democrats will escort you politely over the edge.
That's a very, very good point. I like it. Bumper sticker time, guys. Write that down. Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know if you saw it, because I don't know if we were joined up then, but I had Lieutenant Governor candidate Fetterman on here the night before we voted, and they don't call me Savage Joy for nothing. And I was like, I don't understand some people call you John Frackerman. You need to clarify what is all of this? What's, and he's like, well, it gave me clarity when I went down, and I started walking around people's houses in those areas and stuff. And I said, well, are you going to do the same with Governor Wolf? Because we've been trying to get him to have, this eye-opening experience. And And finally, I got Fetterman to say, I don't support fracking. Like, wow. So since I got him to say it, I got it on tape. Don't mess with me.
Right. Well, a politician who is embedded within a corporate party, a party which accepts corporate donations, cannot be trusted. But a candidate who has been deeply embedded for decades within a political party on behalf of ecology and justice and not gotten rich off of it, never expects to get rich off of it, and doesn't want to get rich off of it, but wants to enrich society and replenish nature, rebuild our civilization toward balance with nature. That as a politician, I put myself forward on that basis. As a candidate who intends sincerely, deeply to follow through. And as governor, I would intend to ban fracking to the maximum extent that a governor can do so.
Yeah, absolutely. They recently had a debate last month, and shocker, you were not invited. I'm glad I was sitting down when I found that out. But unfortunately, you're one of like probably at least 10 who have told me that in the past month, of Green parties and independent. So when I saw the announcement come up that it was going to be a debate with the people running for governor, I put comment after comment. Where's Paul Glover? Is this not for everyone? Is this just for select people running for governor? Are you making them do a separate one? I sent messages, and shockingly, I never heard a darn thing back.
Of course not. The corporate domination of the political process is so rock solid that we have not only been able to be excluded from the debates, the single debate, but have been excluded from most major media, as I said. The League of Women Voters, to all of its credit, declined to participate or co-sponsor a debate which did not include all of the candidates. And in Montgomery County last month, they sponsored a debate between myself and the Libertarian candidate, Ken Krawchuk. They did invite the Republican and Democratic candidates, whose names I will not mention, whose names have been well mentioned already by the corporate media. But we had a good time. It was a good conversation, exchange of views. I ventured to become a candidate not just to gripe about how rotten things are, but to put forward the solutions to the urgent crises of the people, the economy, the culture, and the environment of our state. So among these is a plan, a very specific and detailed plan to create 500,000 green-collar jobs in Pennsylvania to rebuild our civilization toward balance with nature, to remove gradually over the next decades our dependence on fossil fuels. I mean, there's a lot of so control of the land and the law and the money determine who runs our state and what happens to us. And money and land and law are increasingly are controlled by people who are investors from far abroad, who don't care about what happens to us at all. And the Green Party is the only candidate, as I say, which does not accept corporate contributions. And so we say directly outright and intend to carry through with those platform proposals, those specific policies, which return that control to communities, to suburbs, to nations, to farms, so the urban, suburban, and rural. initiatives, without which I think we are just flailing around and waiting for somebody. We're hoping for somebody to help us. So I've started a dozen organizations that model ecology and justice, written half a dozen books on how to do these, and taught these at Temple University and Philadelphia University. So I am way over my armpits in an understanding of how we can do that together. The middle class is having a hard time. It's sinking underwater. I've put forward a proposal to move beyond the middle class to what I call the mutual class, to get ahead by getting together, by creating mutual aid organizations of the kind that we created in this country 100 years ago, before you and I. Here, people were the working class, were thriving by paying pennies a week to create mutual aid organizations that gave them ownership and control of food, fuel, housing, health care. So, do it again, but as governor of this state, intending to, as a budget priority, foster and seed the revival of exactly these kinds of organizations on the local and regional level. I started the Ithaca Health Alliance years ago in Ithaca, New York. Members paid $100 per year, and we gradually had them covered for 12 categories of common emergency anywhere in the world, the specified maximum amounts. And then we built a free clinic. We can take control, again, on a nonprofit basis.
Absolutely. Yeah, these there's definitely some people in the comments appreciating what you're saying. The thing that I like about you is that you are the 99%. You have been a humanitarian and been, I call you a hippie in the nicest way, but you are, like, to me, you epitomize someone who just wants to help, who wants things to be better in the future. And because you're bringing that mindset, it also gives people hope, which a lot of us don't have right now. So that's always a good thing. One of my favorite things you said last time was that you've helped inner city children learn how to plant things and stuff like that. Do you still do things like that? Do you still try to educate younger people?
Oh yeah, I mean, it has always been the case that young people are the future. In Philadelphia, 11 years ago, I started the Philadelphia Orchard Project, which has now planted 61 orchards with fruit trees, nut trees, and berry bushes. Every single time that I come out to help dig holes and plant trees, kids show up who have never seen a worm before in the city. So I've started a local currency that became a model nationally and globally for community currency, taking control of money. Thousands of individuals and 500 businesses traded millions of dollars of money I designed on my computer. Then the Ithaca Health Alliance, as I mentioned, Citizen Planners, which is now a national organization. I started in 1978. So wherever I see a need which is not being met by government or by corporate interests, I move in and I start a program which can be inaugurated at the local level by whoever is ready to begin, to prove that average people can take control of land, law, and money. And of course, that's how national policy is made. It's how state and national policy are made, by such creative initiatives at the local level that prove themselves practical, that gradually then become adopted as state and national policy. It's why Slavery was ended. Started a room full of people saying that's really bad. That's women got the vote in 1848. It was the first convention of women, Seneca Falls, New York, saying women should have the vote. It took nearly 70 years. Civil rights, Social Security, all of these initiatives began with a handful of people around the kitchen table saying, something's wrong, and here is what we can do about it. So I've been very pleased to follow that tradition. I've had so much fun. I've met thousands of people and empowered people. My idea of leadership is to find the people I want to follow. So I don't have expertise in everything, but I sure have attitude, and I'm familiar enough with what we can do. I create novel solutions and invite people to join the fun.
Absolutely. See, guys, he makes me smile. He's a keeper. I'm going to put you in my pocket and just carry you around that way.
Yeah.
So as far as healthcare, I know you do want to legalize cannabis, which I really hope is going to start happening in other states. And what else do you support as far as healthcare? What would you like to see in the near future?
Well, first, I would note that Tom Wolfe does not believe that Pennsylvania is ready for legal marijuana. Whether liberal, yeah, right, ready, ready or not, here we come. In terms of healthcare, I have for many years believed that we need to and can create regional and then statewide mutual aid health cooperative plans of the sort that I had mentioned that I started in Ithaca, New York. So a lot of people are against expanding Medicaid, Medicare to everyone because it would raise the cost of Medicare. And my plan intends to expand Medicare to everyone in a way which makes Medicare not only available to everyone, but affordable, democratic, and humane. I'm very glad you asked this question. I'm currently proposing and drafting and have a website for Philadelphia, that is to say Philadelphia and Healthia, Philadelphia.org, Philadelphia.org. We're just finalizing the webpage. And we can launch this. We can launch this notwithstanding the state insurance department has said it's illegal. Years ago, I wrote the book, A Crime, Not a Crisis, about the collaboration, the collusion between Pennsylvania regulators, legislators, and insurers to make sure that medical insurance is an insider game, which is very profitable, even while so many Pennsylvanians are suffering the lack of insurance and or poor insurance. Some 1,800 Pennsylvanians die every year because they have not access to satisfactory health care through an insurance process. So, as governor, I would shift the budget. First, I would clamp down on the medical insurance industry. I would close, I would shut, I would slam the revolving door between Pennsylvania regulators and insurers, which has made sure that so far, and I in my book, A Crime Not a Crisis, detailed and footnoted this extensively. People become insurance regulators, and if they do a good job of not regulating insurance, then they are hired by the insurance industry. So this I would clamp down on. It, of course, applies to the Department of Environmental Conservation and so many of our state entities as well.
Awesome. As far as medications, I'm not sure if you remember, but last year, um, Bernard Sanders came out with a legislation to have people in Congress and Senate sign on onto a cap for prescription drugs. They can't be billed for more than X amount of time, X amount of dollars for what they cost. And our guy in PA, Bob Casey, turned it down. He signed no. And from that point on, I was like, I'm done. And I live right next to Harrisburg. So I was, let's say, I became buddies with the secretary because I'm like, hi, it's Joy again. And I would just show up now and then. And of course, he was never there. But these are the things that I think so many people are dealing with, because even if we don't have Medicare for all, I think prescriptions is such a huge problem of so many of us. When you talk about healthcare and everything, would you also like group prescriptions in with that?
Oh, indeed. I mean, the American Association for Retired Persons, which has repeatedly invited me to join, has approved the Republican notion that the government should not be able to, the federal government should not be able to buy prescription drugs in bulk, as is done in Canada. This is why the Canadian prescription drug system is so far less expensive than in our country. That's why so many retirees go in buses to Canada to get their prescriptions filled. It's a crazy system. And, a lot of pharmaceuticals are themselves dangerous and deadly. More than 100,000 Americans every year die because of prescription drugs properly prescribed and properly dosed. Far favor medical marijuana and the less toxic alternatives to prescription drugs. But for so many Americans, prescription drugs have become a pivot for health care. It needs to be far less expensive. We need to take it out of the profit system. The whole medical system is so saturated with greed that humans are dying, humans are suffering, humans are choosing between paying rent, paying groceries, buying pills. It is inhuman. It is a crime. And that's the kind of legislation as governor of Pennsylvania, the Green Party line, that I would hope to sign, which asserts that prescription drugs on that basis are a crime.
Absolutely. It's when you talk about prescription drugs and the AARP, I had no idea that. So you're talking to people who are, I believe it's geared towards 65 and older.
Hey.
And you're talking to them who are some of the most vulnerable people. And you're saying that that just like, what? Wow. I'm going to tell my parents that, because people can't really know that. That can't be widely known, I'm sure, because that's just not okay. Somebody like that should be fighting for your medication.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It was well over 10 years ago that was a big issue. Why did the AARP sell out the seniors? Wherever you have money moving, wherever you have people being paid a lot of money, you will find that people will sell out.
Wow.
Yeah.
What other green things are you hoping for?
Oh, golly. Well, the ultimate, as I said at the beginning, um, liberalism is not enough. It's not enough to be a liberal. In fact, many of us on the left are not beyond liberal enough, because we need now, because of climate change, because of global warming, because of all the enormous challenges facing our civilization, we need to rebuild our civilization entirely toward balance with nature. We have built a civilization which assumed cheap and abundant fossil fuels. We have built houses that are like cardboard boxes. We need to pump fossil fuels into them to keep them warm, and then they cool them off. It's crazy. And we are building suburbs on our farmland. We are polluting our water. And the normal and standard technologies through which we do this, through which we reassure ourselves that we are providing for our children, that we are living the good life, this is coming to a very dead end. I'm not the candidate of the Green Party for governor because I want to talk about dead ends, but about wonderful opportunities for us all, as I said, during the next 10 generations, to fully employ one another, to rebuild our civilization for balance of nature. So in Philadelphia, for example, we have a 40-acre vacant lot. It's empty because 100 years ago, 1,000 houses had been built upon it, but they had been built upon cinders, 40 to 50 feet of cinders. The houses sank and broke and cracked. They were taken away. Now the land is empty. On that subsiding land, I have put forward a proposal to build 100 greenhouses, 300 tiny houses, parks, playgrounds, orchards, market pavilion, and a Patch Adams free clinic. I have a contract with Patch Adams, the Dr. Clown. And there to create a model of urban development which prioritizes, which empowers, and employs the lowest income people in our city to create food and live in energy efficient houses. So,
That would be awesome.
yes.
Yeah. Tiny houses is, I mean, I feel like they're just genius, and so many places should have them. I moved here from Philly, so I'm familiar with it, and there are quite a number of homeless people. And then this weather comes, and you feel so bad, but instead of feeling bad, we need to start doing something.
Great. And we need to begin where we are with the people who are ready to begin. There are hundreds of wonderful ideas, well, probably thousands, and thousands of organizations, and millions of needs needing to be met. And when we turn off the conventional news, which tells us every day that people are dangerous, people are stupid, and we have to lock our doors and be very careful, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. When we turn that stuff off and tune in instead to the wonderful things that people are doing all over this country, all over our state, or all over where we live, and all over the world, we can connect, whether it's through Facebook or Twitter or any of these social media. That's where, in fact, we find our allies. We connect, we reach out, we become friends, and lovers and political allies. And we have a good time, challenging and beyond challenging. I mean, for the first 10 years of my political activism, I was very busy being against things, against things, against things. There's so many horrible things to be against. And I became very effectively against those things. You just ask some very powerful politicians, ask some very powerful agencies in New York State, elsewhere, about me. And I say, that guy he's just what, he's an unprintable, unsayable, he's something, he's an asshole, basically. He won. I started these organizations and he won to prevent bad things. But it became apparent to me to be far more powerful, ultimately, and far more fun to start organizations and movements that prove that average people, like myself and the people around me, could take control of land and law and money and food and housing and health care on behalf of ecology and justice.
Absolutely. That sounds like what everyone's platform should have. It looks like you got another 2 voters in the comments, so that's exciting.
That's great. We can tell all the 2 voters we can get. We're very happy.
What do you anticipate happening Tuesday? Are you going to be at polling places?
I personally will be handing out literature at my polling place and then throughout Philadelphia, and I assume around the state. There's literature that is being available. If people go to greenwavepa dot, I think it's org, but greenwavepa.org or come, greenwavepa, one or the other, and you'll be connected and provided with literature to hand out at your polling place. Currently, I'm amazed that I'm getting 5% approval rating among independents in Pennsylvania. This is amazing to me because there's been virtually no media attention to my candidacy. And as I said,
well, I'm a proud independent.
Hey, thank you very much. Proud independent. Yes. And as I said at the beginning, if Greens get 2%, if a Green candidate for governor or senator, we do have a candidate for senator also, Neil Gale, a fine fellow who deserves your vote for senator at the same time. If we get 2% of the amount cast for, of the maximum amount cast for a statewide candidate in Pennsylvania, then we retain our ballot status. We have a lot of leverage to put squeeze on Republicans and Democrats. So it's like a lot of people have been long fed up with being stuck within a Democratic Party, which is increasingly a corporate party, which increasingly sells out to the worst directions of society and fail to address the urgent challenges of our time. So I'm an old white man, but have never sold out to that assumption that the world would get worse and worse and worse for the convenience of older people.
Yep, absolutely. We have a comment from Rose Ann. She said that Neil Gale is awesome, and she met him in Scranton. I've been hearing his name quite a bit. I'm gonna look into him. Not that, I mean, we're so down to the wire. I'm trying to contact last minute guests, and who knows. But I'm definitely gonna look into him. Yeah, a lot of people are loving what you're saying, Paul. So even if people aren't outwardly saying I'm voting for you, I think you're going to be surprised. I really do. I think, well, Here's one of the reasons I fell so in love with you, because you made a statement on the Our Revolution phone call that you said you said, I know the only way I'm going to win is if the other two candidates get caught having sex with an animal in between them or something like that.
A turtle.
Turtle.
A turtle. Yeah.
That was pretty much the greatest thing ever, especially coming from a candidate. So
well, unusual for a candidate to say something like that, but the Green Party candidacies and the Green Party are outside the box, and outside the box turtle also, I would say. Now, as I said at the very beginning, Governor Wolf has a 26% approval. He has a 26% advantage in the polls above Wagner. And so please tell your family and your friends that a vote for a Green Party candidate is not going to risk the election of a Republican, which would be the most horrible thing. Notwithstanding that Governor Wolf himself embraces horrible things, especially fracking, especially a ban on marijuana, and especially a bunch of other things. So we can't continue to allow Democrats to just escort us politely over the edge. We have to challenge them to stand up. We have to send them a message. And Green Party candidates, increasingly throughout our country, and particularly on local levels, are winning. And they are making differences. They are shoving the two-party system over the edge.
yes, it's quite common to hear, well, why should I vote for you? Well, the Republicans, no, that's not what I'm asking you. Why should I vote for you? It's become this comparison game, and give us something to vote for, not against. That we're just seeing so much of that still. I was hoping it would get at least a little better. Who we vote for does in ways actually show the person we are. By us taking a stand, look, I know my one vote is not going to make Tom Wolf lose, but I'm at least making a statement that I have another option, one that doesn't stand for, pipelines and, brown water, and one who doesn't run away when we approach him with comments or questions. So, I mean, it's incumbent on us to speak our minds. And if 100% of people vote Dem and Republican, this kind of movement will start dying. So we have to keep bringing it to fruition. It's important that we have those other options and that you guys feel supported. That's definitely important.
Yeah. In some cities, I think in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and Berkeley, California, they have what's called ranked choice voting.
Yes.
Or instant runoff voting. So you don't have to vote for the horrible or the worst horrible. You get to choose. You vote exactly as you're saying for the candidate you actually prefer. And if your candidate doesn't win, your vote for that candidate goes into your second choice.
And, quite brilliant.
And we as Greens have sought that in Pennsylvania for a long time. But Republicans and Democrats have refused to acknowledge that there's any other voice out there that deserves your consideration. So we're kicking them in the butt. We're saying, hey, give us a voice, or else your parties, both of them, will start to decline. I mean, some 40% of voters, I believe, in Pennsylvania are registered as independent. That's at least the case nationwide. And some 60% of American voters believe that we need a third party. Abraham Lincoln was a member of the fourth party. There were 4 candidates for the presidency in 1860. And third parties are actually not third parties. We are the first parties. The first parties to say that slavery is bad, that women should have votes, that Social Security should be enacted, that workers should work an 8-hour day, not a 12-hour or 14-hour day. These were weird and wild ideas put forward by crazy people in third parties. And that is the tradition I am very proud to continue today.
And I think it's pretty amazing that the Green Party actually asked you to run. I think that says a lot that they are behind you, for sure. Don't be modest. It says a lot.
Thank you.
If you want to leave something with the viewers, something they can take away where they can send the show to people or point you out to other people in our state, or hopefully even throw you a few dollars, what do you want them to take away from this?
Well, government at its best is an antidote to greed. It restrains the worst violation of human rights, human dignity. But our government increasingly, in the state and in the nation, has become a servant of greed. And it requires a severe correction. A greed which destroys community, a greed which destroys nature. And the severe correction we're offering in this state through the Green Party is our candidacies for governor, lieutenant governor, and Senate. And there are, I think, J. Ting Walker in Allegheny County, Pittsburgh.
He is in, yeah, there he is. He's in the comments.
Hey, Jay, how you doing? We are offering this severe correction. We talk about market corrections, but they're usually in terms of enabling a few people to get richer and richer. But this market correction is a market correction on behalf of communities and nature. Again, I would conclude by saying that Governor, for those people who want to speak with their families, who are concerned about electing a Republican governor, that at this point, mere days before the election, Governor Wolf is 26% ahead of his Republican opponent in the polls. That's 8 different polls in our state. It's not a fantasy. But Governor Wolf is going to be reelected. And you, whether you're a Republican or Democrat or independent, regardless of whether your family members are Republican, Democrat, or independent, you can vote. Or Libertarian, I should mention it. Whether your family or friends are affiliated with any of these parties, you can vote for the Green Party candidate for governor, the Green Party candidate for lieutenant governor, the only Green Party candidates all over our state, wherever they may appear on your ballot, without risking the dreaded Republican dragon.
Yes, whereas some of us dread Republicans and Democrats. Because we woke.
Very well.
We woke, Paul.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have another voter in here. Alexander Noyle says he can't wait to vote for you and Neil Gale. So
well, Alexander, good to hear from you. Unless you file an absentee ballot, you will need to wait until Tuesday, November 6th, the day.
The day we've all been waiting for over a year.
Green Day.
Are you kind of do you think you'll be kind of relieved too when everything is over?
Oh, I have a lot of things on my plate. I'm doing a
Oh
bunch
yeah.
of things at the same time, and being a candidate has been virtually a full-time job. I've had a lot of fun. I've met thousands of people who I otherwise would never have met. It's been great. Um, but I have a bunch of other things going on, and on Wednesday, I will do those, and they will continue the green theme on behalf of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the United States of America, and the whole damn world.
Thank you so much for coming back on, Paul. I just adore you. You're amazing. I'm so glad to be voting for you, and you're my first green.
A big hug, Joy.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you guys for watching. And Paul made an excellent point. Especially those of you who aren't going to vote. If you're not going to vote, get up and vote for a green, because at least then we can get to the percentage we need. So absolutely, think about this. Wolf is already ahead in the polls. Go with your heart, go with your gut, go with what you can wake up being proud about the next day. That's if people did that all along, we wouldn't be where we are. So also, I have a green at 11 p.m. Eastern. He's coming on in an hour. He is a green candidate from Ohio. His name is Austin. So he'll be joining me in an hour. So it's a green night. But thank you so much once again, Paul. Best of luck with everything. I'll be keeping my eyes open for the results Tuesday.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you, all of you.
Take care.